was gonna go watch Gemini Man today as well.
Alright, that's good. Apparently Gemini Man is garbage.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I was hoping that was gonna be, like, amazing.
Nah, it's garbage. It's filmed in 120 frames as well, which is, like, not good.
Shit. I was hoping that was gonna be a good movie. The premise was cool.
Is it, though? Alright, we'll get into this later. So, podcast. We're here, it's us, we're doing it. We're up to episode 6 now. Yeah, that's what I called the stream, so let's hope I'm right.
I called it episode
As always,
72.
2 hosts are still here. It's episode 72.
Yeah, we've been here. We've been at it for a while.
Dude, we've been doing it. We've been doing it for like a year and a bit. Like a year and a half. That's crazy.
Now we did most of them.
Dude, the
on,
year's
the
like
same hour.
That's crazy. Fucking the year's almost over, dude. It's October. Like that's bonkers.
It is almost October. It is almost the end of October.
It is October, dude. It's like the end of early October.
Something in
next
China
week
is going to happen around the 12th of October, because I didn't...
What are you... What?
Alright, let's go. Let's do this.
Alright, so... We're aiming to sort of nail that hour mark, because I think we've got to go in about an hour. So the amount of news we're going to do is kind of light. But we also have... we're going to have a discussion about Shadowkeep, and our thoughts towards Shadowkeep. And discussion about the Legend of movie with Joaquin Phoenix.
And yeah, do we want to start with that? Do we want to start with Shadowkeep?
No, we don't. We want to start with China. And more specifically, Blizzard, because this story has dominated the news for a week. And for some reason, you don't know about it because you're an idiot. And I don't feel bad.
I've literally just been doing university assignments for the last.
I don't even know
what's going on with Destiny. I'm honestly...
No, I'm not playing Hunter. I thought I was playing Hunter for a second. That would have been problematic. So, a couple of days ago now, like top Hearthstone streamer said on stream that like he essentially supported the Hong Kong protest on stream. I don't know what the Hong Kong protest is, but like in a nutshell, China wanted to extradite prisoners from Hong Kong, like people who have committed crimes in Hong Kong, to China so they could be tried in China. And I don't know what you know about China's legal system, but that basically means you're gonna lose. And you're gonna go away forever.
Alright. Not a good idea.
Hong Kong was like, no dice, and there's been loads and loads and loads and loads of protests about it, and like, they've shut down airports and like ports, which is a massive thing for Hong Kong, because they're like one of the biggest trade ports in the world.
Yes. They are pretty... Isn't their airport like one of the biggest in the world?
Their airport is very big. I think LAX is the busiest in the world because it has a lot of domestic flights that go through it.
Hong Kong is pretty massive.
I think it's like the 3rd biggest in the world, but I know in terms of traffic, it's probably also up there. I think London Heathrow is the highest in terms of traffic.
Yeah. I'll believe that.
Yeah, so they shut down the airport, they've been like storming government buildings and stuff, because they're pissed off, and they have a right to be pissed off because China's infringing on their rights.
Yes.
And that's, I mean, I guess that's not an objective statement, but also it's not untrue, and I think you would be hard-pressed to find someone in the Western world that disagrees with that statement.
Look, from what little I understand, that seems fair to say.
So yeah, at one of the top, before we move on, a friend of mine did a really good podcast episode about all the like protests and riots and stuff in Hong Kong. I'll actually link that in the description because it's really, really good. And she does that podcast weekly, so I'll link the podcast itself and the specific episode. But so on top of that, one of the top Hearthstone streamers in the world. I think he's in the Grandmaster League. which is like the top league in the world, said after winning a contest that like basically he supports Hong Kong, and so Blizzard's response was to like the two casters who were like covering the event, like basically ran off stream, and then Blizzard went to an ad break, and then two casters were fired. He was stripped of his winnings and removed from like the Hearthstone comp scene for the rest of the season.
Odd.
I mean, the casters sound like they got a worse off deal here, because they were just completely...
The casters are dead, and he's since in a whole bunch of interviews with different, like, people said that's fine. Like, if that's what Blizzard wants to do, that's what Blizzard wants to do. I'm still gonna like, the people in Hong Kong still 100% have my support, and I would much prefer to lose my winnings and lose my position in Grandmaster ranking than say nothing in regards to what is happening in Hong Kong.
That's absolutely fair.
So this has prompted a whole bunch of like online like backlash and shit. People like boycotting, Blizzard and shit, and people coming out saying like, I'll never buy another one of Blizzard's products because this is fucking crazy. However, it hasn't affected their share price at all.
I feel like it might. Like, because I only just...
It may do in the long term, but it may also be that, like, the rich white dudes who are investing in Blizzard don't care.
Yeah, well, I think maybe once they have to move a bigger product, because at the moment they're literally just paying for microtransactions. That's all they've got on their games.
Yeah, and, like, that's why they're sort of... Because China is such a massive market at the moment. It's still, like, I think third in comparison to, like, everything in the world, but, like, it's a really, really big emerging market that they want to break into. And the way they're going to do that is with Diablo Immortal, which is developed in tangent with NetEase, who are one of the biggest investors in the world, or, like, companies in the world regarding video games. They are also Chinese.
They are. They do a lot of the mobile...
They're like really, really big into mobile games because that's what makes money in China.
Yeah.
And so Blizzard is developing Diablo Immortal in comparison to them, assumably so that they can break into the Chinese market and make all the money in the world because there's loads of people in China. But what's really interesting about NetEase, and I think sort of loops into this story as well, is they're also a 40% shareholder in Epic, who make Fortnite. And basically the reason why everyone was like, yo, Fortnite's the devil and Epic is bad. But the CEO of Epic, Tim Sweeney, I think, came out a few weeks ago and said, we will never participate in a practice like this. China can suck my dick, essentially.
Which is like, yeah, absolutely fair. China,
and even though like Tim Sweeney, this is something I think I saw as a meme originally, and then I researched to see whether or not it's true. Even though Tim Sweeney in video game land is like the devil because he created Fortnite, that guy invests millions of dollars in buying like trees and shit so that people can't knock them down.
On your current position.
So he's like a good guy, Greg, but
he's like a solid individual.
Yeah,
even though like fucking everyone in regards to video games.
I mean, like he's probably people probably understand that he's a meme. I've never heard of him.
That's impossible.
In a bad light.
Impossible. Why?
Yeah, but you didn't know about protests in Hong Kong, right? You don't know anything.
Yeah, look, I don't know shit. Alright. This whole Hong Kong bit, that's new to me. And then
so this is sort of this has dredged up a whole bunch of sort of whataboutism about like basically every single company in the world has in some way bent to China's censorship.
Proceed inside.
Yeah.
Sorry, nostril?
That's, I mean,
Sure about that.
you could say that. That's absolutely a thing you could say. I don't know if that's, like, you could show me an example of something and be like, yeah, this is an example of that. Correlation doesn't know.
Like, I think, in PUBG Mobile, they, you can't mention Taiwan in, like, text chat in, I think, both PUBG Mobile and regular PUBG, because China sees Taiwan as part of China, even though the Taiwanese don't. I think Ubisoft encountered a bit of controversy because they were going to remove like blood and skulls and stuff from the Chinese version of Siege, or from Siege in general, to appease the Chinese censors, basically.
Yeah, that was...
which is like a little bit less of a human rights violation, but also like, it's still not great.
It's like, why...
But then
why
they didn't because people were mad about it. I think PUBG did a similar thing where now when you kill someone in, again, I think PUBG Mobile, I don't know whether PUBG Proper does this as well, they don't die, they just like wave goodbye.
Yeah, I've never even know what's gonna happen. Interesting.
Neither would I, but it doesn't surprise me.
But yeah.
Just because actually one of my tutors mentioned that like, the reason that China pushes so many like massive, big, dumb American films like Hobbs and Shaw and Aquaman that are like low on substance, high on fun kind of films is because they sort of want to keep their population docile to more controversial topics.
Yeah, so something like the Joker probably wouldn't be pushed at all.
Something like the Joker isn't even going to get a screening in China.
That's the thing. It might not even...
Whereas they're all about like big dumb movies. Like Hobbs and Shaw. Hobbs and Shaw made loads of money in China.
Do they show Marvel movies? Do you know? Imagine they
They probably do. They're probably edited down and slightly different. I know,
Now we're looking at a scary bottomless
the
pit.
like posters. This was actually kind of funny. The posters for Force Awakens basically remove Finn from the box art, from like the art in China, because apparently the Chinese aren't super about black people. So like all the Western posters, he was like big and bold with a lightsaber right in the middle of the poster, and then he was like sort of off in the background.
So Black Panther
So
probably
it's just
did not
us
even
and a massive Vex
screen.
The Vex
That's actually insane.
What lake?
The lake where you will grind.
But yeah, there's been like a whole bunch of cases. I'll link as many as I can in the description, just as evidence.
Yeah.
That like almost every company, especially ones with a stake in mobile gaming, have done things to be more in accordance with the Chinese censors. Because recently China, like, it's already very, very hard to get a game or a console or anything published in China. I think the Xbox One was one of the first consoles to ever be sold in China.
Oh, okay, so now I understand why the mobile market, like, actually exists.
I mean, their PC market was really big. And mobile gaming in general is just really big. But I still think China accounted for like 40% of like the revenue for mobile games.
Yeah, well, the thing
Again, I'm pulling those numbers out of my ass. If I'm wrong, I'll put an annotation on the screen, and there'll be lots and lots of links in the description. But like, it's a non-insignificant number basically to come from just one country.
So is that the end of the China story? Or is there more? I don't think there is.
So in addition to that, a bunch of U.S. congressmen, both from like both sides of the aisle, like bipartisan things, have come out saying like this is not good. And for a company that engages in loot boxes, to piss off a congressman is not a good idea, because like the legality around that is already sketchy. But most congressmen were just like, whatever, I'm an old white guy, this doesn't concern me, it's not my problem.
Yeah, but now it's
But the fact that now
you're doing shady
Blizzard
shit.
and like Blizzard's business practice are popping up on their radar implies that they might decide to take an interest.
Yeah. Which might be a good thing for us all overall. And it might be a good thing for like, because as I said, Blizzard basically all microtransactions. They don't have any major products anymore.
And also, BlizzCon is coming up in a couple of weeks, so it's going to be
that
really
was a problem
see what
last
happens
year.
there.
That was a
Yeah,
problem.
because like people were mad last year because Diablo Immortal was announced, but yeah, I think it's the 19th of October. Is when it's
I don't know the date. You can just
popping up,
and then things will happen on the screen.
Again, I'll annotate the screen and I'll have a link in the description.
Yeah.
This guy
Wait.
have a thing? But yeah, so it's like, it's great. And a whole bunch of the employees from Blizzard were like, we do not support this at all. I think one of the mods on Reddit quit. I think they shut down their Reddit as well
Oh my
a
god.
while ago, just because like it got real bad because people were pissed off.
I mean, if they keep the Chinese investors in the Chinese market, it might all be worth it, because the Chinese market is about 2 times the size of the rest of the markets in the world.
Potentially that's the play here, that they're just like,
Yeah.
whatever,
They don't
we're gonna
give
be
a shit
making that
anymore.
China money. But that's
Yeah.
also like, it's not a good play, and they're an American-based company as well.
Yeah, that's putting all of your eggs in a very, very shaky basket. So look, it'll be interesting to see where it goes, but yeah, I can't really speak too much on it because I don't know anything about the Hong Kong issue. Other
Okay,
than
I'll
it's-
link that podcast. You should watch it. You should listen to it. I think it's like 45 minutes long. They actually got a guest who I think requested to remain anonymous for obvious reasons, because they're in Hong Kong at the moment.
That's interesting.
Yeah, you should watch that, and again, it'll be in
Yeah,
the description.
I will.
I'll link the whole playlist on Spotify, and I will also link the specific episode where he talks about all the shenanigans in Hong Kong, because it's bad.
Yeah, I know it's a bad time. Censorship in general is just like, that would have been great for my censorship essay that I had to write. Like,
What if this happened like a week ago?
yeah,
Or like a few weeks ago?
Like, I had to hand in a censorship essay maybe like 4 weeks ago. So this,
Yeah, I think it's also like, it's kind of illustrates that sort of nothing in this world happens in a vacuum. Like, they tried to appease China, but in doing so, they kind of pissed off everyone.
yeah. And like, you've got to think about your actions. That's kind of the issue here. But on to more happy news. Crossplay.
Also,
PlayStation 5.
quick note, as I mentioned beforehand, I was actually like officially announced in more concrete terms this like past week. It was very like low key the way it was announced.
We'll give it a better name.
But essentially, they were like, it's going to be called PS5, and it's going to come out in the next holiday period, which is like, no shit. And I think they did mention some stuff about, like, the way the controller rumble is going to work, and, like, haptics and stuff. But I have not read or seen the story, because this story has been dominating my newsfeed, because it is the more important story.
Yes, but crossplay. Sony is all about it now. Well, I don't know if they're all about it, but they're.
Well, they're kind of all about it. So
They'll
it
be
wasn't
like,
like
yeah.
an official announcement about crossplay. It was in an interview with, I forget who, about something completely different. And they were like, oh yeah, our crossplay stuff is coming out of beta now. So basically any publisher that wants to use it can use it.
See, the problem I have is that the reason they said they didn't want crossplay is that they wanted people to stay within their environment so that they can more easily control
Narrow down a location. Let's go.
when something goes wrong. That was kind of the point, right? So
Potentially, yeah.
no, I'm pretty sure that was the point. I mean,
That was the point they made, sort of public facing, yes.
yeah,
But I
it
think there
just
might
been
have
that
been
they
some more
wanted
stuff
to be
going on behind the
money,
scenes.
sort of thing.
Not necessarily related. But make your point, and I'll go into what I
I forgot my point.
thoughts about. I don't necessarily believe myself because I don't know enough about development, but it would surprise me if this was the case. But yeah, go ahead.
You go. No, you go. I'm done.
So, it is potential that, because apparently this is a thing with like Japanese game companies, is that all their tech is proprietary and not designed to operate or play nice with other tech ecosystems. So it may well be that they just didn't have the infrastructure to do it, and it's taken them this long to build. I mean, look at like the shenanigans they had with name changing, where it basically broke a lot of shit, because their like the PlayStation Now architecture is not well designed, like, at all.
Yeah, well, the original architecture, I think it's a lot better than it used to be. But,
yeah, well, the original architecture wasn't designed at all. It was basic. Again, I don't know a lot about, like, the server-side construction of it, but it wouldn't surprise me if it was a lot on the developers of each individual game to build out an online system.
yeah.
Because it was free originally.
Makes...
Like, in the PS3 era, you didn't have to pay for PlayStation Online. And it was also really bad. Like, it got hacked a bunch of times.
Which is like, it's way better than it used to be.
But yeah, then when PS4 came out, they rolled out like a paid PlayStation Now system, basically so that they had the money to compete with Xbox Live, because Xbox Live has always, and I'm pretty sure still is better, because Microsoft know how a computer works.
Well, yeah, they create computers. They're the computer guys. I don't think Sony create any.
They make TVs.
Shank on the web. Shank on the web.
They do. TVs are basically.
Yeah, so that may have been the case, and they sort of made that their public facing statement, because they couldn't be like, well, our engineers fucked up, but their engineers did exactly what you told them to do.
Yeah.
Like, it is just impolite to do that.
Yeah. That's absolutely.
But as I say, they haven't sort of made any really... potentially, at, like, E3 this year, with the announcement of, like, the more formal official announcement of the PlayStation 5, they might be like, and it'll have crossplay on some big titles.
Yeah. Probably
because Sony is sort of this generation being a lot more show don't tell. They don't really want to say crossplay is a thing without having a place where crossplay matters.
Yeah. So the three major ones I expect are like Minecraft and Fortnite, PUBG. Those are the or Destiny. But Destiny, they're not kind of planning crossplay at the moment.
I mean, Bungie have said that it's on their roadmap. That, like, it's something they want to do.
Yeah, I don't think they have the infrastructure for it at the moment. That's kind of their issue.
I mean, it wouldn't surprise me if they have some amount of it. They have cross-save.
Yeah, cross-save's way easier to do than cross-play.
I mean, I imagine. I don't doubt.
Yeah. But, yeah,
so on to sort of other stuff. We've both played Shadowkeep. We've both finished the story. What are your thoughts so far on the Shadowkeep?
I think it was a little
on the keeping
short.
of the shadows.
Can you hear me now?
I think it was a little short. And the ending was very vague. Like, it was kind of just like, there are bad guys and they're on their way. And that was kind of it.
Let's go.
And we kind of already knew that. We have a little bit more of an understanding of what the bad guys are. Like, spoilers with the darkness.
So I don't. You technically speaking haven't like finished the story yet. You played the last campaign, but there's still a little bit. There's a little bit more that like introduces the Vex offensive and stuff like that. But again, it is very much like they're bad guys.
Yeah.
Shit.
And they're kind of. I think they're kind of saving that for a future expansion, maybe Destiny 3.
I still have my doubts that Destiny 3 is a game.
On the cutting edge. Maybe a mug?
How about we get these fallen off my ship?
I don't think they want to restart, but they might have to for like certain.
I think they might rebrand. They might drop the 2 on the end of Destiny and have like a big $60 expansion to go alongside that.
Yeah.
But I think they've also like they haven't. I don't think they really they haven't really referred to Destiny as Destiny 2 in a while. Like, they usually refer to it as Forsaken, or Shadowkeep, or whatever the sort of current expansion is.
Yeah. But, like, the problem with, like, if they are planning on introducing crossplay, they need that infrastructure there, and they can't just patch that in, basically. So,
nothing's
not
possible. I mean, that was kind of my point with, dedicated servers. That people have been talking about introducing dedicated servers and like updating the engine as well. And it's like, I don't think it's necessarily impossible to patch those things into the game. Like
it's
a new engine
and it's probably just
But it
as
would
much...
certainly be a lot easier to do if they were just making a new game.
Yeah, if they're making a new game, they they can justify doing that sort of thing. But cross-play, dedicated servers, those things are...
It may well be that with like the launch of the new console, sort of a year or so into their life cycle, when a lot of the third-party developers start pushing stuff
That's
out,
kind
that
of
they'll
when
come
I
out
think
with
they
like
might...
Destiny 3 or Destiny. I still don't think they'll have a number. I think they'll drop the number.
Yeah, that's probably...
Because I think that's just not great marketing to say that this is the third iteration that you need to have played the other two, right?
Yeah.
Especially in like a game that is supposed to be one evolving world, as Luke Smith and every developer at Bungie has said 1,000 times. I don't think having a Destiny 3 fits into the vision of one evolving world.
Yeah, but they might need that going into the next console. That's kind of the problem here. Either everyone moves to PC, or they just lose a lot of players on it. Because
yeah, as I say, I don't think we'll have a I don't think we'll have a game called Destiny 3. We might have something that is essentially a Destiny 3 that might just drop the title and be like Destiny, whatever the next expansion is called, Destiny Pyramid Ships, get fucked.
Yeah, there's Destiny, not Destiny. What's the opposite of a Destiny? Good question.
What's the
apparently.
psychological for it term called?
It's
Free
not
will,
an important...
kind of.
Free will. Yeah, all right, I'll believe it. That's the next campaign mission. Destiny and free will.
Yeah, but I think so. In terms of campaign, again, it is kind of like a lot of it is sort of busy work. I think it starts off really well. I think it arguably starts off better than any Destiny campaign ever has started off. But it does just kind of evolve into busy work, and a lot of it is just kind of like waiting to see how this unravels. But I think it sort of plays into the idea that
it's one surprise that you're just waiting for the entire time, and the surprise doesn't really pay off. That's kind of...
Yeah, and again, even with like the stuff that you haven't quite gotten to yet, it is kind of like... It does sort of deepen that a little bit and explores it a little bit more, but it is still very like... We don't really know. I think
keeping
the story in general has like momentum behind it now. It has a place to go, as opposed to, and especially through like the seasons and stuff, we'll go somewhere and we'll do something, as opposed to just being like a whole bunch of kind of meandering side stories.
Yeah, where you have one Forsaken and then you have a bunch of B-sides, basically. That's the problem that we were having before. And now it's going to be just one story the entire way through. I think that's kind of what they're going to do. We'll see. Although season...
Yeah, I think they tweeted out they want Destiny to be a game that lives, and Season of the Undying is the catalyst for that. I think I replied to that tweet in like, I was like, a game that lives in all caps, and Season of the Undying is the catalyst for that.
Yeah, it's pretty... They absolutely said that knowing that was the joke. There was no way that they said that.
I don't think anyone else picked up on it. Which I was like low-key disappointed about.
That's weird.
I need to fucking... This is Depresso Espresso. So all my, like, actually good, like, legendary stuff are now dropping lower than the blues that I have. Because my artifact power is, like, really high.
Sad. That's real. I need to catch up to you. You're like 900. But yeah, the light grind seems way better now than it's ever been.
Yeah.
It's vendors are
way better implemented. I didn't really play with it a lot, but I'm parroting a lot of what Datto said in his video, that it's less like fucking figure it out and more like you do these activities, then you do these activities, then you do these activities.
The raid seems
because like everything has like
though. The raids are starting to like conform to a certain formula, where it's a good formula, but I feel like sooner or later people are gonna kind of just understand, like, it's not gonna have as much of a challenge. Like Crown of Sorrows, you had Witch's Curse and Crystals, and then you had what was it? You punch the dudes. Like, it was all about Witch's Curse, and it would teach you these mechanics. And then the last fight was all about putting all those mechanics.
I mean, that's basically what every raid ever in Destiny has been, and like they've spoken that out as like a problem, or not necessarily a problem, but sort of like it's hard to deviate from that like boss formula of kill stuff, a thing happens, keep doing that thing, DPS.
Yeah, and they kind of tried, and it's still like it looks like it's still a sit there and just shoot the boss. Sort of.
I mean, I think they've deviated away from that, sort of sit there and kill. I haven't seen how to do the last boss, or seen basically anything from the last boss, because during the race I was like, I have classes tomorrow, I'm going to sleep.
Yeah. The last boss is... I'm pretty sure it's pretty sit still and shoot the boss kind of thing.
But I know that the boss in the middle is like their way of removing the ability to just sit and to just sit in a well or sit by a bubble and shoot the boss, is the boss moves.
Yeah, just make it a chase. Oh, this is the new strike.
I've done this. Oh wait, no, this is Scarlet Keep. Yeah, you've done Scarlet Keep.
I've done this one as well.
I think again, Dado specifically called out like whatever team is designing lost sectors in Shadowkeep is doing like insane amounts of good work, and I don't disagree. I think all the lost sectors on the moon are fucking dope.
Yeah, but they need to be put somewhere else because no one does the lost sectors.
Yeah, it's weird
sad.
that there is like so much artistry and work gone into something that you do. There is a reason to do them at least once a week within like the weekly grindy stuff. But outside of that, it is kind of like, and I think just in general, the like area design for the moon is also really cool. Like especially only the new areas is kind of like
it's very red,
super dope.
Scarlet.
Yeah, it's almost like it's Scarlet. I went the wrong way, so I'll see this one.
You go inside the castle, right? You go inside.
It spawned me facing the wrong way, alright? So I just walked forward, and then I was like, oh, this isn't where I'm supposed to be.
We're about to leave you.
No, it's fine, I'm here. I'm here. It's okay, don't worry about it.
Oh, awesome. Yeah, now.
Yeah, so I think like
Back to the
all the
podcast.
encounters, all the area design is really, really cool. It honestly reminds me a lot of like the fortresses in Shadow of Mordor, which is absolutely a good thing.
I don't know shit about Shadows. But there is the dungeon that's coming out later.
Yeah, we've not seen the dungeon, and I honestly don't even really know what the dungeon. I was thinking maybe Curia, but like
I feel like they might either leave that to a raid or leave that to a story. It's one of those.
Yeah, I feel like Curia's a really big subject. You don't just do in a dungeon, you do it in a raid.
I mean, dungeons are pretty big, and it would make sense that Curia kind of follows the same thing. Like
And also, like as I said, my money was on Curia bringing all the nightmares back, but that is maybe potentially not the case, question mark? It is still very vague.
I mean, it doesn't look like Curia's the one that brought.
It does not look that way, yes.
Yeah. It's very, very evident that that's...
Again, I don't know if there was like a cutscene or a thingy-do at the end of the raid.
I didn't see it. I have to watch the raid again. But I don't even think Kira had anything to do with the raid. But I do...
Yeah, I don't think... Again, given the stuff that Ikora tells you about the Vex Offensive, and like why you're doing the Vex Offensive, is very sort of like, doesn't really seem to be like a Curia kind of shenanigans. I could be wrong.
Well,
I don't think I am.
Going in, because the first dungeon was Ikaru. who has a
Dylan Carr is
lot.
or Sabathur.
Yeah, who has a lot to do with Kira. So I imagine we might have a similar situation. We just might have Kira hanging out in the dungeon. We might not be killing Kira, but we might be dealing with something that's to do with Kira. Or possibly a Vex sort of thing, a Taken Vex. I don't know.
Some Vexy shenanigans, might be Hy-Vee shenanigans. But I do appreciate the style of content rollout as well. I think the fact that there wasn't like a super massive day one drop, and it's sort of like been teased out a lot more, I think is a lot more in tune with how Bungie wants to produce content, and I think it makes a lot more sense as well. You know, it's about the never-ending buffet of content, opposed to just like a 3-course meal where everything comes out at once.
Yeah, that's it probably makes it easier for their team, and now that Crucible is way better, like you got up to Fabled in like a couple of days.
I up to Fabled over like a week, because Crucible is not like
Not
ass anymore. Like it's still not great.
It's not where it
still
needs
a lot
to
of
be,
supers,
but it's way better for solos.
but it is in a better position for like growth. And I think Luke even said in the Vidoc that like, or even like on the reveal stream, that like we need to rebuild the foundations of Crucible before we can start building a house on it, essentially.
Yeah, and this does
I
foundationally feel
I
better.
don't disagree with that assessment. That I think the foundations of Crucible are better, and I think this improves them a lot. But there is still potential there for it to be a lot better. Like I think heavy ammo is still a little crazy.
Yeah, but it's
But
crazy.
they have tuned that back a little bit since I last played. I think like yesterday or maybe even the day before they dropped the patch that changes heavy ammo spawns, because it was a little bit nuts, and supers were also less ridiculous as well.
Yeah, mostly the roaming. Pretty sure the one-shot ones. Are
Well, like it takes a lot harder to it's a lot harder to chain supers, because orbs don't give you as much super back anymore. In fact, orbs don't really give you any super back, to be honest.
Yeah, I think they still work
Like,
pretty well.
see that big pile of orbs over there? That will maybe give me like half of my super.
But once you get like into like this list of
Yeah, potentially. So like maybe we just have it in endgame builds, but it's also like it still, I think, will make it harder to change supers, and it won't just be like once the 5-minute mark hits and everyone gets their supers, and it's just primary ammo gunfights go out the window and it's all heavy ammo and supers.
But yeah, Shadowkeep is way better than it used to be.
And I looked at it, I haven't really dicked around with like Armor 2.0, but I've seen a lot of like builds and stuff going out. I think it's dope that like builds are actually a thing in Destiny.
Hash Ladoon is
Oh, that
dead.
Like we
building
can
is a
make
thing.
a build.
Is a relief
Yeah,
to hear.
step one.
But
Before it was kind of just like you
coincidence.
have.
The hive must
armor.
have granted
It was just like, alright, you did the
ambitions
thing,
for pyramids
yeah, and you could
influences.
kinda sorta be
Return to
like,
me. There is much to
you
discuss.
kind of specify, but it was also really hard, and it required you to make a lot of sacrifices in regards to like fashion and stuff. Like I don't really care about
Fashion
fashion,
is
but
important.
still, it's like.
It's possibly the most
But I'm
important part
sure
of
you.
Destiny.
I did see a couple of people complaining that there was no like world drop or vendor refresh, that we're still getting the same gear that we've been getting since Forsaken.
Yeah, we are getting new gear, but it's still
Like there is new like Shadowkeep and Season of the Undying specific gear,
yeah.
but I think that more comes down to the fact that like, sure, it's like it's fun once, maybe twice to pick up a new gun
I got 28 kills. What am I doing?
or a new piece of. I don't know how many kills I got. Probably less than 28.
5.
What were you doing? Yeah,
I think
it's
I got
fun.
128.
It's fun and interesting, maybe once to pick up a new piece of armor, a new piece of gear before it just becomes nonsense that you just instantly trash.
Yeah.
So I think Bungie recognizes that, and I think they were like, we are better off spending our time developing new and interesting systems for the game and improving like the core of the game than spending however many hundreds of man hours it would take to create all new vendor weapons and all new world drops for no one to care.
It's still a
league.
foundation thing. Like as you said before, they fixed the foundations now. The foundations are good. Now maybe next time we might get a vendor reset.
I think they
because
fixed
won't
the
have anything else
foundations
to
in
do.
Shadowkeep. I think now they're just sort of shearing up the edges a little bit and building on them.
Yeah, and Armor 2.0 is a very good step in a very, very good direction. Still want Supers 2.0, but that's...
Or Classes 2.0. I don't know whether
Classes
we'll ever see that.
Yeah, maybe Destiny 3. Maybe the next...
Yeah, that may be a Destiny 3 thing, if Destiny 3 even exists.
Yeah, it doesn't exist. It's a fake. At the moment.
Dude, it's fake news.
I think, yeah, I put
So-
Shadowkeep as a very... It's worth the money. That's what I'm gonna say.
Yeah, I don't disagree, and I actually like I bought the season pass, dude. Or like I bought the season.
You bought the
like I
first
usually
season,
don't have to do. And I'm more than happy to spend the $14 on all the other seasons.
Yeah, I mean it depends. I'd rather have a season pass just to be like, yeah, I'd get the next 3 seasons. But I don't know. If
Interestingly enough, the seasons you buy them with silver. Like if you don't just buy them through like Shadowkeep, you get it with silver,
yeah, it's a microtransaction,
which I think is a way of looping it into Bungie's ecosystem, so potentially they keep more of the revenue from purchasing a season.
Yeah, because now like game share doesn't work on Xbox, which is a sad.
I mean, it still
sad
works.
day.
It's just like I don't
Shadowkeep gets-
which again, like I don't have a fucking problem with you buying the seasons. I really don't.
Especially if they're that cheap. Like some of the
They're only
emotes are
like
more expensive.
Forget the fallen.
they're $14, and I think technically speaking they're cheaper than $14 because I got 100 free silver with the $14 worth of silver that I bought.
Yeah.
So it may eventually have a roll-on effect where I can just get one of them for free after I've bought 10 seasons.
This is Australian dollars.
Yeah, I don't know how much it costs American. I don't really care. I think it's $10 American.
Yeah, I think.
One of my teams reported Taken's energy infecting the water supply. Our purification tech can only do
But
so
yeah,
much.
So
If
I
the contamination spreads,
absolutely
people will
it's
die.
worth the money. That's as much of a score as you're gonna get. Sam hates scores.
I think scores are dumb. Scores are silly.
Yeah. So now we're gonna score Joker.
Light went down.
I think that's
If the
such
light-
a good
Poor
one to
boy.
end on.
Then perhaps their
That's a
infections
film,
can be
that is.
reversed.
Yeah. So do you want to start?
A lot are going to save
I
lives
could go
today.
on for a very long time.
I think you start. How do we feel about Joker? How do we feel about? So let's start with acting, writing, directing.
All right. So
Start with
acting. Joker, Joaquin Phoenix.
Joaquin Phoenix. Yeah. You
Yeah,
gotta
it's-
really enunciate. You don't actually have to really enunciate it. That's probably offensive to really enunciate it. But I like.
That's
it.
how it sounds. It's a cool name. Yeah, he was a
Joaquin.
very good cast. Way better. I wasn't a fan of Jared Leto, and I don't think like a Heath Ledger. Like, I know we can't really do Heath Ledger, but
I think
I don't think it
they're portraying different.
yeah, I don't think a Heath Ledger version of this Joker would have worked.
I think they're portraying
Even if
different
Heath-
things. Like, yes, they're in a similar vein in, I guess, comparison to all the Jokers previous and Jared Leto's Joker. Like, they are similar thematically, but I think they still serve different purposes within the story.
Yeah, they're all different. So I think the casting was great. Casting, at least for the Joker, was great. Thomas Wayne was great. The friggin' what's his name? What's the comedian's name?
The dude, Robert De Niro, his character.
Yeah, the Robert De Niro character. I don't remember what his name is.
I want to say like Harley, but
Murray.
also
It's
don't
Murray.
feel like Murray. There you go.
Yeah, yeah. So he was a very good choice. Zazie,
I'm still
I
tracking
think her name
taken
was
energy
Zazie
nearby.
Zazie
They're all
Beats
over
or
the
something
water
like that,
facility.
potentially,
Yeah.
maybe. I don't know.
she wasn't really. as
Bates?
much as
Whatever's
part of
behind us
the
must be
movie,
underground.
but she was a fine little part. And,
I've
yeah, I
seen
think-
some mentions of potentially Joaquin Phoenix being an Oscar contention for his performance.
Well, that's probably because there's nothing else that came out this year. That is also.
Dude, Endgame came out this year. Did Endgame
Yeah, but
come out this year?
yeah, but, I think so.
Dude, did
actually.
you see that shit where like Martin
This
Scorsese
is
was
the
like,
most
"Yo, Marvel
ambitious
films aren't
team
art.
operation
Like they don't
since
count as
Boris
cinema
led
because
the
they're not
charge.
art." And then everyone was like, "Lol, fuck
Yeah,
off."
well, now no one likes you, do they?
According
I think Robert Downey Jr.
I'll bet they're
liked
as
it. I
monstrous
haven't
as
seen
he
it.
is.
I think literally everyone who's been in a Marvel film, which is pretty much everyone, is like, fuck off.
I'm pretty definitely like someone like Rayner or Ruffalo. They probably their Instagrams are very. Imagine that they definitely made a point. We did say that Spider-Man was back, right? Yeah, we did. That was the story.
Yeah, Spider-Man's back. We know
yeah.
Spider-Man's coming back. I should
guy
probably
sucks.
stop leaning away from my secondary recording. That's maybe not the right choice.
I'm very far away from it.
Well, let's hope it doesn't suck dick then.
Yeah, but the acting in Joker was great. The writing was great, and I'll touch on a part of the writing that I thought was good later.
Yeah, we'll try and keep the spoiler free as much as possible, and then we'll go into a spoiler section a bit later on. Because there are certain specific story beats that I want to talk about, because I was like, no, I don't think this is maybe the best choice. Like, I get why you did it, but also like,
There was one part.
I
of the
also
story.
don't think it's not the thing that we talked about the other day.
Oh, so that's less of a
With
story.
the,
just like
The like Gary Glitter song, who is a well-known British pedophile at this point, having a song included on the Joker soundtrack, which I think is like, that's a bold move. And like,
It's
I
a
get
bold
why,
move, but I think
like,
it paid off.
Points
It's
of
an
view,
artistic move.
but also like, maybe that's
The
not a
fact
good
that they
choice.
were able to pull that off just kind of speaks volumes of the movie. That's kind of that they were able to be like, yes, this makes sense within the context of the movie. But if you haven't seen the movie, we're going to go on a spoiler part of it, and but that kind of gets you ready for it. That there is a pedophile song in the movie, and it kind of makes it's kind of justified. Like that's kind of like that's the interesting part about it. But yeah, what do you have to say? What do you have to say about the film?
So, would you recommend that? Because this was my like something that I had great. Would you recommend your friends, if you have any of those, go and see this film?
Yeah, I told like 3 people, but they weren't my friends.
See, because I believe that. I didn't. I think that what I said to my friends was like, it's not the kind of film that you sit down with a group of friends on a Sunday afternoon with a few beers and watch. Like, it ain't.
Oh no,
that.
it's not one of those. I was
It's-
like, yeah, you should go see it.
I
It's
think
a very
when I
interesting film.
I went to see it with two of my mates, and we walked out of the theater, and they were like, "What did you think?" Because they're aware that I'm very,
Vocal.
I'm very, very opinionated about movies, let's say. And I was like, give me a minute to process, but like right now, walking out of the theater, my thoughts are like, this is sort of a willfully provocative film.
Yeah, and that's kind of the point.
And it doesn't surprise me that like people in America were like, this film is going to incite violence in theaters, and there are going to be shootings. Because it is that kind of film.
I think those kind of people
Like-
are stupid, just instantly.
I think I said to you that like, if you walked out of this film and you were like, I enjoyed that film, there is probably something wrong with you. Like, you are probably a psychopath.
I enjoyed it.
Because
I
it is
didn't
not,
enjoy
like,
it because
it's the kind of film you enjoy because of like its artistic sensibilities and its artistic
Yeah,
value,
because
but it's not the kind of film you enjoy because it's fun.
yeah, like I was cringing. Like every single time something, like every single time that Arthur did something, I was like, please don't do this. Like this is not a good idea. This is not how humans behave. And that's what I think was like great. That's why I liked the film. That's why I enjoyed the film. Because I was like, this, you shouldn't know. Don't, just stop, please. That was basically my entire expression on my face for the entire movie. And that's what I think is great. And I feel like people that are impressionable might have a problem, and that's kind of where the criticisms come from that I've seen on journalism sites. It's just like, oh, impressionable people will look at Arthur like he's a hero. Like, those types of people shouldn't be going
sort
to
of
the movie.
intentionally portrays him that way, which I think speaks to the deeper themes of the film.
Yeah.
But yeah, so don't go into this film expecting for it to be a riot.
Yeah, don't expect it to be
it's
a
a riot,
model.
but not that kind of riot, you know, fam? Like,
It's an
literally a
actual
riot.
It's a real riot, and it's not what you want. But yes, I enjoyed it, but not because it was a fun time. Because it did exactly what I was expecting it to.
It's made and portrayed with very sort of like indie film sensibilities.
No one
Like it's probably very low budget. I think they probably paid the most for was cast, like Robert De Niro and Joaquin Phoenix.
I don't even think
I forget the name of the guy who directed it, but I don't
he's
think
like-
he's done anything else.
I don't know if he was
major.
like, trying to stay in character during his interviews, but his interviews are very like
I think
with
he's just an
Jimmy
awkward
Kimmel.
dude.
Yeah, they're very awkward, and I can see kind of why he was cast as the Joker. Like that's kind of a problem. But he
I mean,
yeah.
like he's been in like the only other like major film that I can think of that he's been in was Her, which again was made with sort of very indie film sensibilities. It was the one about a guy who falls in love with his like phone's operating system. Like he falls in love with Siri essentially.
yeah.
And Gladiator with Russell Crowe, which won all the awards in the world.
It was also in a bunch.
But like post that, he's
Brother Bear.
basically just done like a lot of indie films.
Yeah. I don't see anything in here that I really recognize. But yeah, he was a very good cast for the film. I think it was probably the best choice they made.
So this is kind of drifting into sort of subtle spoiler
time.
territories, but I saw I think our very own Alana Pierce, and I say our very own because she's Australian, she grew up in Kansas, said that like her major issue with the film is that the writers didn't sort of commit to an idea or to like one thematic value, because Arthur says that like when he's on pills he says that all he has is negative thoughts. That's the direct quote from the film.
Yeah.
But when he's off medication, he's like I'm happy, I feel free, and like, you know, which is like maybe that she was like that's seems very, you know, uncommittal to the idea of like, you know, funding the mentally ill and taking care of the mentally ill and things like that.
Yeah.
Which I can see why you think that. I don't necessarily disagree. But I think it sort of, to me, it more plays into the idea that, like, society's reaction to the mentally ill, and especially treating the mentally ill, is to just sort of put them in therapy and throw pills at them.
Yeah. Oh, this is the actual...
And it's maybe an indictment of that. But I think, like, I think both Joaquin Phoenix and the director have said, like, this film is, like, supposed to be discussed. Like, there is no one answer to what is in this film.
Move quickly, but carefully, Guardian.
Just give them lithium. That's the idea, right? That's the plan. Oh, thanks.
I don't know what lithium does, but I'm pretty sure that's not a good choice. I'm pretty sure lithium is, like, bad.
I'm pretty sure they use it to... I'm not 100% sure on that. Please, if you are...
Dude, I'm not a doctor. Yeah, actually, that's something I wanted to mention, and I should have brought up at the start of this, and I might actually edit this, do some funky editing, that if you are someone who deals with mental illness, through whatever means, or you may not be... No, that's not where I'm at to go.
No, don't.
But yes, maybe.
Anyway.
That's not where I'm at to go, but that is kind of like maybe true. I don't know. But yeah, even if you're not diagnosed, but if you're someone who like just struggles with life, or you just generally are struggling with life, please seek help. I'll put links to like Headspace and Beyond Blue in the description. I think Beyond Blue's only exists in Australia. I could be wrong about that. Don't quote me on it. But there'll be links to both of those in the description. Please, please, please get help. Like 100%, dude.
Yeah, that's kind of.
I know. For my money, I've dealt with like a whole bunch of shenanigans. I've never been like officially diagnosed with like depression or anxiety or anything, because I think I've potentially too much bravado for those things. But like, even if
talking to people,
speak to someone. Like that's why like counselors exist. And it's also like, I mean, I could talk for hours and hours and hours about this, and I have in some contexts. But it's sort of like, not every counselor is a fit for every person. So just because you had one bad experience with one bad counselor or therapist, that doesn't mean it's not going to be worth it. You just need to find someone who's the right fit for you.
Yeah.
And I've like, there are therapists who've actively said that, but like, just because you had one bad experience doesn't mean that therapy just doesn't work for you. It just means you maybe didn't find the best therapist.
Yeah.
Or the therapist that fits for you. So yeah, if like life's just becoming too much, please, please, please seek help. Please, 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 please. Like, you know, maybe you're not in a position in your life where you are comfortable with speaking to a complete stranger, but most people, I find, like, they have friends and family that are more than willing to listen. Most people, if you push them hard enough, are not garbage people.
Yeah. And generally, yeah, just pretend that you're never going to talk to each other. Maybe that's a good idea. I don't know.
No, don't do that.
No? Look, I've never been I can't speak on this, that's why I'm letting you talk. So.
Yeah, like, this is like, I'm being super real here for a minute. Like, I know we make jokes and shit, but like, legit.
Yeah.
Like,
absolutely
everyone's journey through like mental health and getting better wellness is fundamentally different, and I'm not going to pretend to be an expert. In fact, I'm barely even an armchair expert on the subject. And as I say, everyone's journey is different, and a lot of people aren't in the position where they are ready to speak to a therapist or they're ready to talk to someone. But just like, talk to anyone, dude. Like.
But again, now let's go on to the spoiler section.
Yeah, so spoiler. So the couple of things that I had an issue with, or the one thing specifically that I did, was the inclusion of like all the Wayne stuff.
Yeah, I mean, I think they just did it because...
I mean, I get why they did it, cause it's like, it's a name in Gotham, cool. And it's tied to the Batman mythos that everyone will know, but it's also like, did you really need to, like, do that? And also, like, the fact that they have that, like, stinger at the end where, like, one of the people who's riding because of Arthur Fleck's shenanigans is the person who kills, like, Arthur and stuff people. And I think, like, all that was, and, like, the plot line where, like, maybe, Penny Fleck was banging Arthur, was banging...
I think that was kind of...
Thomas Wayne,
kind of
and...
played into, like, why...
I think it does play into the themes of, like, the way the people with, like, power treat the people without.
But it also plays
into... they have a very different public face to what they are like privately.
But they didn't really like Thomas
But
Wayne.
I just think it was like, it was too much Batman. I would have liked it far more if it was just like, never mentioned anything to do with the Batman mythos outside of like, it's in Gotham City.
Look, I feel like once you bring in Thomas Wayne and you're in that sort of timeline, you kind of just have to kill. You just kind of have to have the shooting scene, which is
like in the grand
fair.
scheme of things, it doesn't detract that much from the quality of the film. I think it's still
I think it's
really,
fine.
really well
I thought it was
made
actually.
film.
I think that was a good. Like it was good to keep it like still grounded in.
I was just like, well, like the scene where he talks to Bruce and like he like confronts the dude in and Thomas Wayne in the bathroom, and like I was like, please no, like let's not.
I kind of think that's the point.
Glad he wasn't Thomas Wayne's kid, because then I might have cried.
Yeah,
That's a big no-no.
Yeah, it's a good thing that they kind of stuck to.
They're like, don't make him related to Batman, please. Like that's no.
And it played into the thing we learned later on, where Penny Fleck was basically just abusing the shit out of it. Like, the most amount of abuse that you could do. Probably not the most.
Yeah, but she herself was already, like, mentally ill. Like...
Yeah. Which is another step. Please get help.
That's maybe not the best message to send them.
But it's another point. Oh man.
Yeah, so though that was like my only major gripe, and even then it's like it's pretty minor in the grand scheme of things. Like it doesn't detract too much from the quality of the film.
Yeah, I think
but
it probably adds like more, to be honest.
I mean, like, that's art, right? Like, art's subjective, and to the subject of films and comic book movies not being art, this is a comic book movie, and I think you'd be hard-pressed to find someone who doesn't think it's also art.
Though I don't think it's based on any comic book material. That's kind of the problem at the moment.
It kinda is. Like,
it has like a bit of Killing Joke in it, but it's not like completely one for one.
I mean, that's because the Joker's, I don't think comic book wise ever really been given an origin story.
No, and that's the cool. That's like
although
that's my
the
favorite
name
part
Arthur
of the film.
Fleck does remind me of something
Joke.
from comic book.
That's the Killing. That's his name.
Do they name him in the Killing Joke?
They do. I'm pretty sure. You might have to look that up on the way out.
Such is the nature.
I mean, I believe it.
Sure.
Logic. Endless.
I'm sure people.
I'm not the most well versed on the comics, but I mean,
they
it
give
does.
him a name in the comics. But what's really great about the Joker origin story movie is that they don't really make it clear if it's actually like if any of it actually happened.
I think one of the directors, or like Joaquin Phoenix, came out and said that like that's kind of the point. But it's like it's sort of maybe the Joker is just one of those dudes that was inspired by Joaquin Phoenix's Joker. I think he also actively said that like this Joker will not appear in any of the mainline DC stuff. Yeah,
because he's not the Joker. Like, I mean, well, he is the Joker, but like it's kind of like the Batman's an idea, Batman's a symbol. Anyone can be the Batman's from
makes Joker into a symbol.
Yeah, and it makes Joker.
Makes Joker into a parallel symbol to Batman. Oh my god, what?
Well, yeah, friggin' Joker. It's really interesting that they kind of kept the same sort of. If you want to know how I got these scars, sort of thing from Heath Ledger's Joker, where it's just like no one actually really knows what actually happened, if any of it happened at all. If he was just inside an asylum the entire time. Imagine some of it. Like, look, we can't actually.
Yeah, and I just remembered the other thing I wanted to talk about. That is, this is lighter spoilers than the last thing, so maybe I should have started with it.
Probably. We had less spoilers. But it's fine, we were in
But the scene after he shoots the dude, what's his name? Robert De Niro's character?
Murray? Yeah.
Murray. Yeah, well, it
was
out and it shows like all the different broadcasters that are all broadcasting the scene, the thing.
Yeah.
I thought that was like, oh, this is so clever, because it's about like society's relationship with violence.
Yeah.
And like how it's sort of glorified and sensationalized.
Yeah.
So I thought that was really clever. And it was the kind of scene where like, as it played out, I was like, fuck.
Because that's like World War... That's a little after World War II. That's a decade after World War II, right? So...
What?
The Joker.
I don't think they actively say when it's set, but it feels very like Depression era, post World War II kind of setting.
So I
It's
don't
the second
know.
time we've done this strike.
Yes. I'm not 100% sure if like the message kind of makes sense in that setting, because I don't know how sensationalized violence was. Well, I guess it was in World War II, but I don't know if it was in the Depression. I don't know if people were too crash hot about sensationalism, just like violence in media after World War II.
Look, potentially not, but I think like the reason they don't actively like say this is set in this time because it is only. I think it's more of just like an artistic choice that they can do certain arty things that feel right towards the film, and it also just so it is removed from like right here, right now, to sort of further remove it from like the mainline DC films.
Yeah, which are interesting too, because we're still. I think Jared Leto is still the Joker in the mainline films.
I don't think he is.
I know Margot
there was-
Robbie's absolutely coming back.
Speaking of,
Suicide
yeah,
Squad.
she's coming back for Suicide Squad and Birds of Prey. Speaking of the Birds of Prey trailer, I think there was also like a Suicide Squad reveal, but I haven't
Teaser,
actually been
yeah.
able to see it anywhere.
It's just called the
Um,
Suicide Squad. They're basically
So,
just-
you know that elevator that, yeah.
oh no, you
there's a
left
shrieker
me
down
all
here.
alone?
No, I'm not on the elevator either, dude.
Yeah. So what were you gonna say?
We're kind of wrapping up here, but, 140 characters, thoughts on Birds of Prey?
Oh man, it's Twitter. That's half my tweet just there. Birds of Prey. Thoughts
Yeah,
on Birds of Prey.
thoughts? On the trailer? On the anything?
Yeah, it was okay. I didn't really get a sense of the story.
Wow, fucking riveting. Thanks.
Yeah,
Glad I
that
asked.
was like I don't really like. I saw the trailer and I'm like, yeah, this movie. I'm a fan of Margot Robbie, but look, it doesn't look like it's going to be that interesting. To be honest.
I think
I couldn't really get a
Margot
sense of the
Robbie
movie at all.
and Ewan McGregor will probably essentially do a lot to carry that film.
Yeah. And I think
It
the
seems
stuff,
too close to the Suicide Squad aesthetic, like the David Ayer original Suicide Squad.
yeah, like James Gunn is
It's called
absolutely
Suicide
changed.
Squad,
So yeah, James Gunn is absolutely.
which was sort of that like neon pop music, like craziness, which like I wasn't necessarily not a fan of, but it was also
wasn't
like
done well.
it was a little bit too much, and it's also like kind of because of the quality of that film, it kind of leaves that aesthetic. That aesthetic kind of has a bad taste in your mouth now.
Yeah. But yeah,
I
Margot
don't
Robbie
know
and
about
Will Smith kind of.
I mean, yeah, it's got a good cast. Margot Robbie's fucking talented as shit, and as is Ewan McGregor.
So yeah, it'll be interesting to see what happens. I don't know if Jared Leto's coming for that show. I don't think he is at all.
He's not.
Um,
I think Jared Leto is 12,000% down with DC and Warner Brothers.
yeah, he was mad because of the Joker cast. It wasn't even Joker 2.
He was mad about all of it. He was mad that they cut a whole bunch of shit from the film.
Yeah, like I understand, but like he wasn't a great.
And also, like, again, I feel like his performances were way over. Like, if you compare the shot from the first ever like trailer they did, where he's like about to start torturing Harley Quinn, and then you compare what that ended up being in the film, it's like, oh, yikes. Like, one of those is clearly better than the performance in the film. But then again, from like a post-production standpoint, that film was fucking intense.
Yeah, I wasn't a fan of Leto's Joker, so I'm kind of fine with him just not being
Hash
the
Lagoon
Joker
is dead.
anymore. And I imagine with the new Batman stuff, They're just gonna
But
have to try and
Hashirudin's
retcon him out of the
presence is
universe
no
so that they can
coincidence.
have a new Joker.
The Hive must
With,
have grander ambitions
what's
for
his
the
name?
Pyramid's influences. Return to me.
This is the vampire from
There
Twilight.
is much to discuss.
Edward Cullen.
Yeah, what's his name? What's his real name?
Robert Pattinson.
Yeah. With Robert Pattinson's,
People were mad about his casting.
I think that's a great casting. I think that's an amazing cast.
And also, like, I get it, because, like, Twilight was shit. But also, like, the guy's talented. Like, if you've seen any of the stuff he's been in, like, post-Twilight, the guy's talented.
I mean, wasn't he great in Twilight? Like, Twilight was just... I haven't watched Twilight. Twilight was just kind of... just poorly directed, wasn't it?
Look, it was bad. It was based off bad source material. It was, badly acted, badly written, badly directed.
Oh, okay. Look, he was
and, like,
pretty good
the
in
two
Harry
leads have, like, since actively come out and said, like, we hated being on that film. Like...
Was that Anna Kendrick and Robert Pattinson, or the other guy?
No, Kristen Stewart. Kirsten Stewart. Anna Kendrick was in it.
She was in it, yeah. I was wrong. Look, I didn't watch Twilight, alright? That's not my thing.
You should watch all the Twilight films. They're great. They're quality cinema. They're the real cinema. Martin Scorsese, fucking eat your heart out. Twilight is real cinema.
That's what we're gonna end this
lies.
podcast on. We're gonna end this podcast on Martin Scorsese is not a Twilight fan, and that's kind of an issue. And we're gonna make him
the real
Twilight
issues.
fan.
We went from like serious human rights violations in Hong Kong to like
Twilight.
Martin Scorsese doesn't like Twilight.
Yeah.
It's pretty jarring.
Yeah.
You said you were only good for 60 minutes. We've currently been running just over an hour. So if you need to go, you need to go, right?
Yeah.
So that'll be a wrap for this episode.
That is a wrap.
We didn't have an episode last week. I didn't mention that, but we did not have an episode last week because we were busy.
Yes.
And I also didn't have my editing PC, which I still don't have. So this episode might come out probably late tomorrow.
It'll probably come
out.
out
I have
tonight,
a lot of things I need to do tomorrow. It definitely will not come out tonight.
Yeah. There's a lot of references that we might need to find this. You know, we might.
It's fine. That's usually pretty easy. Most of the stories we talk about aren't like they're not things that I need to search for to find. Like you could literally just like throw in a few things Google wise and be like, yeah, I did it. So
that's it.
As always, I've been your host.
And
My
I
name
bid
is
you
Sam.
adieu.
You can find me on Twitter at SamDurkus. My Twitter handle will be in the description.
You can find me there too.
My co-host is.
If you wanna, I'm Lachlan. You can find me there too. If you wanna message me, just message him. And
I guess, sure. And
You'll-
like again, if you want to like talk about some shit like mental health stuff that's happening, that's what like Twitter. Slide into my DMs, fam.
And now I'm.
Don't make the joke.
You already made the joke. You just made the joke about about getting them to slide into your DMs to talk about mental health. Damn.
Dude, it's fine. Don't worry about it.
I thought it was not a good joke.
So as I said, sort of halfway through, we'll see what I decide to do in the edit.
No, you're gonna cut that out.
But I might move that interstitial there towards the start of the Joker review. But as I said, there'll be links to Beyond Blue and Headspace in the description. If you are someone who has issues with mental health or just like has issues in life generally with just like whatever, like happens to the best of us, like life sometimes just becomes too much. I get it, fam. I've been there. Alright, how's that?
God.
But yeah, absolutely,
just
like
silence.
Dude, I'm trying to be sincere here, and you're just like, you ruin it.
I'm
like, absolutely, like, if life's just becoming too much for you, like, whether it's work or study or, like, family or whatever, like, contact me on Twitter. I'm not a professional. Talk to your friends, talk to your family, talk to someone, please. For the love of God, like, the world is better off with you in it, essentially. And
Oh man.
That probably isn't going to change anytime soon. In fact, it almost definitely isn't going to change anytime soon. So, as I say, there will be links to Headspace and Beyond Blue in the description. So please reach out to either me or one of those two services, or just anyone in your your social group.
Just
sit down and have a conversation with them.
Beyond Blue and Headspace will be in the description. You should talk to people.
Shut up.
Look, we've been on this one
You need
point
to talk to people.
for 30 minutes.
It's because it's an important point.
It is an important point, and I want to make sure that everyone's aware.
I'm gonna cut this out.
Yeah, I already
Alright, so
stopped recording.
again, thank you for watching, listening, tuning in, and hopefully we pray will be